What's going on? This is your King of the Night, Vincent Valentine EX Turk, and I'm coming out with you. I'm coming out with you with another Final Fantasy theory video, and this will also go to the Final Fantasy VII Remake that's coming out. I mean, not coming out, but with the changes. And I was thinking that if they're gonna change all the characters' origins and everything to get rid of the completion of Final Fantasy VII. And if they do have the characters Vincent and Yuffie as optional, things will be a lot more different with them than there was in the original game. For one, if they do make it into the game, there might not be optional characters. He might be actually a character you have to get. A number two thing too, he might be also a character you're going to have to end up fighting because his story origins are going to be a lot different than it is in his original game. In the original game, they have to tone down some stuff because, it was kind of a kid's game back in 1997, and now since those kids are grown up and stuff like that, they can actually make Final Fantasy VII a little darker than it was in the original game, and I think that's also what Tetsuya Nomura is going through. If he's not pulling Tabata, at least, I hope that he's not going to pull a Tabata. It's okay if he wants to erase the old canon, it's his choice, but I don't want no Tabata. But I think the only time that the Tabata thing could work in his favor would possibly would possibly be is that you're gonna have to end up fighting him. He'll probably be going after Shinra because I'm pretty sure they're gonna keep the same story with him and Lucretia. Lucretia dies from the experiment, but instead of him blaming himself, because remember Final Fantasy VII original was toned down. This one would be a more, if I could compare him to a comic book character, a more the Punisher version of Vincent Valentine. Plus, Vincent Valentine pretty much is kind of like the Punisher in Batman. Kind of like the Batman because he wears cloaks just like Batman does, but also like the Punisher because he's very brutal to his enemies. As you could see in Dirge of Cerberus, they actually pushed it. And now, since all the people who's going to play the Final Fantasy VII Remake are most likely grown up or new kids, but most likely going to be the grown-ups who played the original first, it would probably be even worse than that. We're going to be seeing Vincent probably going for fatalities against every Shinra infantryman, and he'd be so revenge-driven. When you meet him, you're going to have to end up fighting him as a boss. And then after you defeat him as a boss, which I'm pretty sure, if anything, this is going to be a really hard boss, because this man is the same power as a first-class soldier. So you're going to have to level up at least level 30 in order to possibly beat him in the first part of the game if they change it. But what I could see that they're going to change in the Final Fantasy VII Remake is that Vincent Valentine is going to be a lot more darker and grittier. And this time he's going to have more fatalities. He's going to be 10 times more brutal on the Shinra infantryman, all in hopes to look for Hojo to get revenge. So this is going to be a more revenge-driven, darker, grittier Vincent Valentine than what we're probably used to. I mean, Dirge of Cerberus has already pushed it. Even though, yes, Dirge of Cerberus is no longer canon, it has pushed. I mean, Vincent, they have pushed that narrative if you play Dirge of Cerberus. They pushed it where he was brutal to the deep ground soldiers. So, why wouldn't they push it any further if he's going to be a permanent member of the of Avalanche? And he is a favorite of all the of the Final Fantasy characters. So, they're probably going to be asking fans how they want him. Because both Vincent Valentine has huge fans in Japan and America alone, and in the West alone. So I'm pretty sure the backstory is going to be a lot different. Lucretia would still lose her life to the experiment that made Sephiroth. That would make him angry, and instead of sleeping in the coffin in this one, he's going to be going after Shinra infantryman or anybody who's affiliated with Shinra and just straight up kill without thinking about it. Because what I'm predicting we're gonna see is a more like Punisher style Vincent Valentine. And am I okay? Am I gonna be okay with this? I think I will. I mean, they needed to push that in there, and it would make more and it would make more sense. Then you wouldn't even have to have a Dirge of Cerberus game at all. It'd play out real well. And you know what? And instead of just getting them by talking to him, just like you did with Yuffie. Well, Yuffie, you actually had a fight, so I think it'd be pretty cool if you had to fight Vincent Valentine and had to level up really high. Then when you get down to a certain amount of health, when you beat him, he joins your party. Because if anything, he'd probably be the last character you get in Chapter 1. I'm pretty sure. It'd be just like it is with how Fang came into the party in Final Fantasy 13. She was legitimately the last character. So the point I'm trying to say is that yes, there would be a big change. Because this is a more darker, grittier Vincent Valentine than the one we know in Final Fantasy VII and Dirge of Cerberus. But Final Fantasy VII couldn't really push barriers, not just only because of graphics, but kids played Final Fantasy VII. Dirge of Cerberus is because it's a T-rated game. They were able to push a little bit of darkness in that game, you know. And I think Nomura was responsible for Dirge of Cerberus. So, yeah. I think, and I think maybe that's another reason why he wants to do this, because maybe he wants to give the characters a better origin story than they had in the original game, which, if he's doing that, I'll be okay with that. I would like a darker Vincent Valentine, to be quite honest. I mean, his character archetype is based, well, I wouldn't say it's solely based, but if you really look back at it, his character archetype comes from Batman and the Punisher. And if you read Batman comics or Punisher comics, they're really dark, gritty comics, because you got a revenge-driven vigilante. That's what Vincent Valentine pretty much is a revenge-driven vigilante because of what happened to his fiance in order to make the strongest soldier project ever. So they'd still keep that, but change a little bit. So you probably, again, if they do changes like that, I think it would be kind of better than the original, because then they put more backstory. Then you know what? You wouldn't even have to have Dirge of Cerberus. You can erase Dirge of Cerberus from your mind, because most people didn't like Dirge of Cerberus. So that you could erase it in your mind if you make a much darker Vincent Valentine. So my theory is yes, they're gonna go. They are gonna probably change and make a much grittier version. And if they do, I'm going to be happy. In fact, I'll be even satisfied. I'll even take back what I said in that video about the completion, not being in the canon. I'll take back anything I said about that if they make a much grittier, darker Vincent Valentine. Especially since I told Tetsuo Nomura in that video, don't copy Tabata. Make it this time, let's make an actual Final Fantasy that's darker and grittier. And 7's perfect with that, because the premise of 7 was pretty dark, even though for a kid's game. Looking back as an adult, there's a lot of material that now in today's wouldn't pass in, games that are made for kids. So it would be possibly a mature game. Even if they had to censor Bear's language, still, if they're going to change all character types, why not make it make sense so you won't even need to have a completion? That everything is in that one game. And tell me what your thoughts in the comments below and everything. May the crystal be with you. And tell me what changes you'd like to see Tetsuo Nomura do to all the other characters in the comments. So may the crystal be with you.